I'd like to talk a little bit about what to look for in good quality honey, for example. And because I've got this colony open, I'll show you a few things. Several years back, a guy came up to me and said, look, I want a big pail of honey, a 50-pound pail. And I said, okay, well, this is my price. He goes, what? I can get it for half the price from Old Man Joe Blow down in 3 hours from here. I said, well, drive to Old Man Joe Blow and inspect what he does, but this is what I do, and this is my price. This is why, I'm 3 times the price. $100 versus $300. So there was a $200 discrepancy there. Here is the Langstroth frame. I don't know what you do on your wintry days, but I stand beside a saw and I cut pine and I nail them together. Each cut is specific. It has to be a precise size to fit 9 of them in there. It's a formula that was developed in 1860. It works. And if you try to take shortcuts, it doesn't work. It's that simple. What are modern beekeepers doing? They're using plastic. You can just get, like this would, I make like 100 in a day, right? Once I get my jig set up and I'll cut like 500 of these pieces, 1,000 of these. And then once they're all cut in piles, I'll just sit there with my hammer and nail or my brad nailer and just pop them all together. That's what I do in the winter, by the way. Or I'm in my lab processing herbs. Usually a half day in my lab pressing herbal tinctures, and the other half, I've had enough of the lab and I want to get outside into my barn and I'm building beehives for the next season. So instead of using plastic and having to put this wire in, my 11-year-old wires these up for me. It's labor intensive. This is the old way of doing it. Then I take a pure piece of beeswax. This is pure beeswax, not plastic. And I slip it in there and I solder it on. That is precisely the size that they want. And I put it in there. Or I can make a phone call and get my credit card. And I can order 1,000 of these for $1 each in plastic. Including plastic here. Yes. No beeswax, plastic. Beeswax is expensive too. The sheet of beeswax alone is $1 if you buy like 500 of them, okay? Plus all the labor of making that. So the first thing I say is, okay, go check. Is he running beeswax and pine, or is he running plastic? Oh, he says he's running plastic. Who cares? I don't want to spend. I can get that for $6. I'm not paying 14 or whatever. I said, well, he's running plastic. What happens to plastic when it gets heated up in the sun? And bees are sun worshipers. If you want to kill your bees, put them near a wet, marshy area in a lowland area with a lot of water, and they'll die of fungal diseases. Put them up on a nice sunny area. Not that, there has to be water nearby, but they like the sun. They want direct sun. Remember I said the lid was made out of metal? I've touched absent-mindedly on the noonday August sun and grabbed it and went, wow, and burnt my hand. And I don't know what your hands are like, but ask my wife. She complains about I have leather hands, especially in the summer. I beekeep gloveless for a certain reason, and I literally have leather hands, very dry leather hands, and constantly putting beeswax ointment on them, but my hands are brutal. But I've seen wax melt. It's so hot in this hive. Now, wax won't drip until it hits 140 degrees. So an average sunny August day in the full sun with no trees around, with a metal lid, the hive is 100, 105 degrees or something. They're in there fanning their wings to cool the hive down. But the wax is soft to the touch. That's how hot it gets in there. If your honey is in is in plastic, touching plastic, then your honey has plastic polymers leached into it. Thank you very much. End of discussion. This is my price. Now, another thing. That sheet is called the foundation strip. It needs to get, in beekeeping terminology, drawn out to look like that. Then they fill it with honey, then they cap it. It takes, to go from here to here, 4 to 9 pounds of honey, in the form of they eat the honey and they pass it through their body, through their wax glands, their scales, and they sweat wax, so to speak. Wax is just an oil. You guys sweat oil. Humans sweat oil and water. Bees sweat water and wax. A little slightly more solid oil. That's all it is. But it takes 4 to 9 pounds to get to there. So I've seen colonies. I've got several undrawn foundations in there, and people will come and say, hey, I need some honey. So, well, let me look. Nope. It's not drawn out yet. 3 weeks later, they come, and I say, yeah, that same colony looks like that now. There's not even a drop of honey in there yet. Come back in another week. They said, what? It's like July, man. Like, what's going on? And I said, well, they were just a baby colony. Like, they were just a little wee baby a year ago. And it takes them another year, really, to get strong. It takes them about 2 seasons if they don't die of disease first. So my conviction is wood, not plastic. Beeswax, not plastic. And when we're talking about getting medicine as well, then I don't want any plastic polymers into the medicine. What medicine comes from the colony? Wax, that solid oil that herbalists and healers and doctors and eclectic physicians have been using since ancient Egypt to build all sorts of things, such as sealing a clay pot so that the bugs don't get in, or cream, ointment, things like that, right? Honey. Some people would call it a homeopathic, a homeopathic energetic dose of tens of thousands of wildflowers, right? Mixed with some sugar to preserve it. Natural, readily absorbable sugars and minerals and vitamins. But mostly homeopathic, plant, flower power, and sugar. Because the sugar is their rocket fuel so that they can fly. What are they really after? Golden nuggets called pollen. Nature's superfood. Every vitamin, every mineral, every vitamin, every mineral known to science. Every amino acid. It depends on what flower they get into. So the more, the better.